Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zel, and we are here for Late Night Live with Zel and Stassa. How you doing tonight, Stassa?
Oh, pretty good. I got a quiet house, just some kids at my house, and the two little dogs.
Awesome.
How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great. We went out for dinner tonight. We've got currently a quiet house too. Susie's back there. She's got the dogs all curled up, and they're watching Winnie the Pooh, I think. And uh, I'm out here with you guys.
Yep.
And so,
And I'm gonna preface this right now. Y'all know my dog loves talking to everybody, and he got his little brother with him tonight, so they might be a little vocal. I'm gonna try to mute it when I can.
all right, so let's just kind of we got Dub Glock and Brian Wallace are already in here with us. Cool.
What's
And
up, Brian? What's up, Dub?
so, what did you have with you today?
Oh, in the pockets today, I had the Olamic Busquera. Um, this is a yummy knife. I just like that guy. And then I also was carrying the Shiro Gorov Neon Light,
Oh, that's a pretty.
and I've been carrying the Super Freak because I'm doing some testing and just want to see the normal.
Oh yeah.
And I've been thoroughly impressed, especially even the factory grind on this thing and everything. This thing's been performing really good. Um,
That's impressive.
and that's the knives I had in the pocket. And I just picked up, I finally was able to score me a Casey Lynch all access pass.
Cool.
Um, and and I've been trying to get some use on this guy. I love how it's got a pocket clip. That's what does it for me.
Yeah.
And I had my little I think what is it called? The Rovan.
Yeah, it's like Aurora or something.
Yeah, super cool light. I mean this is hard to beat for a keychain light.
Oh, it is. I've got one. In fact, well, I hit one too many times. I'm gonna have to get another one.
And then also pretty much always have this in the pocket just because it's, a full size pen and it's just, you don't feel it there. So that's what's within my pockets today. What about yourself?
Well, I'm gonna be boring too because just like it's been for quite a while now. I've had one of these, the malware from this is the one Seth and I designed, and Best Tech made it for us. And these are trickling out right now. People have been asking forever. Blade HQ, I think, has some up right now. So
Yes.
there you go. It is available. And I've been almost self today. In my other pocket, I have Roxy. And of course, the Black Roxy. As a guy that normally is not black knives, whenever these companies put the stealth on these on our models, it's been gotta have it. Just love the black on these things. And let's see, what else did I have? I did have this thing, and I'm not even sure what to call it yet. It showed up in the mail today. Seismic. It's a coma design, and it's got this interesting. They call it a deadbolt. I haven't really dug into how it works yet, but pretty cool. And I it just showed up today. I don't know anything about the knife besides it's got a kind of a neat locking mechanism, and it's heavy. And we'll get into more of that here in the next few days. I had my Master Tough on, and my 58 millimeter Swiss Army knife, but it's over putting this little cup that also has this Rovivon flashlight, and also in that cup is my my Wii pen. which, by the way, I just saw today that going out for orders are the sequel. And the sequel is the Civivi version of the Wii Pen. It looked like it was going to be a little less than $40. It's aluminum with a stainless clip. And if you missed out on the Wii Pen, which the Wii Pen's great, but the sequel is going to be just great, very similar. It's just aluminum.
That sounds pretty nice there. I wanted to pick up the titanium one, but like you said, save a little money and try out the Civivi one.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed. It's essentially the same build. It's just aluminum. And I think they went with a less expensive cartridge in it, but I don't ever use the stock cartridges anyhow. I throw them out and put a Fisher or something in them.
Yeah, same here.
And I did like the idea of the stain. I believe it may be titanium, but I think it's stainless pocket clip. I like the idea of the pocket clip being a bent clip instead of a milled clip on a pen, because it'll just fit in more pockets easier.
And it won't be as stiff since it's going to be a small clip anyway.
Yeah, and be springy instead of stiff. You're right. And that's about it. Now, I do want to talk about, let's see, I think it's only one. Okay, we've got 2 acquisitions, or kind of acquisitions. 3, excuse me. They're on my desk that we will talk about throughout the video. And hello, Raphael and Doug and Thomas.
And James.
Hello. Thoughts on the best tech Ornetta? I have not seen one.
I've handled it. It's a nice one.
And James is with us too. Glad to see everybody. And once again, Dazza, you'll have to keep track of the numbers, because for whatever reason, my screen is not showing anything.
Mine's not right now either, but I think I got a sub. Hold on, I'll be able to find it. Just a second. Oh, real quick before I forget, because my memory, it'll elude me very quickly. Guys, on the malware, just a heads up. If you're a lefty and you are interested in that knife, you better hurry, because I know there's not many of those, and I don't even know if they still have any left. But last time I checked, I think there were, but Zel could probably tell you, I know there's not a lot of them, so definitely want to go jump on that while they have them.
The left-handers? Is that
the lefties. Yeah, I was telling them I know there's not a lot of them, and the last I saw, I think they were still available. I know they won't last long.
They should last for a few days. We did request enough of them that for a few days. However, enough of them doesn't mean very many.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, because I know most of the time, anytime you see a company doing lefty knives, they usually just do a small batch, and
Yeah, and no doubt that's what they did. And I've got one of them on the desk here. The carbon fiber models are not quite out yet. They're still in final production. But, yeah, on the malwares, the way things have been going so far, and I'm not sure, because I don't get to see the sales numbers from these storefronts. But so I'm not sure how many they're getting at a time. But, guys, they've been going fast. And, that sounds great to me, because, I was in on the design and all the process with the knife. But you may want to consider, if you think you want one, you may want to consider getting one, because I don't know what the availability is going to be. I know that the first batch of knives, there's not going to be that many total. So there you go. And it's different than the Roxy, too. There are fewer than there were of the Roxy. So,
hey, real quick, Zel, I'm about to mute for a second, because my dog just took a fat one on side of me.
Oh, man.
Just give me one sec.
All right. Kubi, Brian, they are an interesting company. I have talked to their representative some, and I don't know how to classify them yet. I think they're doing good things, but I also think that until I see them on Blade HQ and the such, that I'm not gonna. They need to get over that hump, get their knives and all the resale channels to be part of the rest of the game, because that seems to be the big thing that people have got to do. Hey, Manny, what's going on? And Troy, he's with us. A plague doctor. Oh my God, we will get into this knife at some point, but just real quick here, I've got I got three really big knives on the table. Actually, more than that, but three really big ones. So this is a plague doctor while we're waiting on Nick. This is an SMF, the big Strider. And this is a full-size Spyderco military. The plague doctor, guys, is a beast. And it's a well-built beast. I've got the review done. It should be up probably early next week. And I say review. I don't really do reviews anymore, but I have a presentation on the knife coming up. Mal, how you doing, buddy? But yes, the plague doctor is a monster. And it's a good thing, though. I've been happy with it. It is a well-built knife. Still Will's doing a good job.
I thought that was an interesting looking one.
Oh yeah, it's big though, dude. Wow.
I know. I mean, I didn't say it was for me. It looks interesting.
Yeah, it's like 4 months big.
Well, yeah. For some reason, I can't see people either, just because it says YouTube TV, no long-term contract, and it's blocking that area. Let me see if I can get that off of my screen. Why? What is that crap? I don't care about that. Yeah, for some reason it's
right,
blocking it.
So one thing we wanted to talk about while everybody's kind of gathering up here is all of these makers, and they're doing one thing because of some things that have happened. There's very little mid-tech anymore, so we're seeing a lot of ODM work. And there's some reasons for that. We have 2 or 3, maybe 4 companies that are doing, wow, wonderful ODM work. And some of them can do that ODM work at very reasonable prices and bring you a designer's design at very reasonable, just really reasonable street prices. And well, I don't know. You had a better, Stassa, you had a better kind of putting this all in one big ball of wax. It's a mess in my head. Can you help us out?
Yeah. And this this kind of topic kind of came to me the other day. I was reading through Knife News, and oh, there goes the dog. Hold on. Hey, boys, come here. I'm sorry about the dogs, peeps. I was reading an article that Serge Panchenko he just launched his new production label called Serge Knife Co. And basically what that entails is that Serge basically is subcontracting his production knives now. So that's doing a few different things. Basically, you're cutting the middleman out as a maker. 2, you're allowing more of your designs to hit more of your fans at a cheaper price. And 3, like we were saying, being that there's really not a technical mid-tech anymore. I mean, for the most part, you're that's kind of pushing them into that corner, I would say. And you're seeing this a lot, not just with Serge Panchenko. You got Ray Laconico doing it with Monterey Bay Knives. You got Vox and Anzo doing it with Giant Mouse. I mean, and they're not all doing it the same, and also Chavez Knives, but it's definitely a movement that's happening, and it's happening for several different reasons. Like we said, I think the makers also are capitalizing on the money they were losing by just doing a collaboration with, say, CRKT, Kershaw, ZT, and whenever they're doing it under their label, they get, you know, a lot more of the profits. But in turn, you also have to realize that that also means that they're taking on the warranty work themselves, unlike the company that they would have been collaborating with. So, you know, I don't know. I was just wondering what y'all think about it, you know, and that's a topic like that I brought to Zel because, you know, he is a knife maker, and I just wanted his input as well. You know, if he thinks it's being done right, you know,
Okay. Well,
and then why such the movement?
okay. Well, I can kind of explain it. If you go to any of these knife companies, from your U.S. knife companies, Chinese knife companies, Italian knife companies, to European knife companies, doesn't matter, and you bring them a design, like we brought the Roxy or over here the Malware, right? These designs don't make us a ton of money per knife. In fact, it's very little per knife. It's like your recording artist makes fractions of a cent per album, right, or per sale. Well, it's not quite fractions of a percent, but it isn't a very much. And whenever you look at the amount of time that somebody puts into the design, and whether if they're prototyping, prototyping, and how you doing, Slicey and Kiefer
And Banner 24/7.
Whenever you look at the amount of time that a set of designers, or Genzanzo and Vox, or Seth and I, or any, whenever you look at the amount of time that's put into design, prototype, dealing with the company to get the knife made, you have hundreds of hours wrapped up in it, and your per hour is so small it's not even, it's kind of laughable, really. However, so you do all the same stuff, but you buy the knives from the ODM, whether the ODM's in China, Italy, the United States, or somewhere else in Europe. And whenever you do that, your money per knife goes up by, I would have to do the math to tell you how much. It's ridiculous. However, you do have to do support for the knife and all these other things, right? So it's kind of one of those things. The reason Seth and I don't do it that way, because we've talked about it, but no, because right now between the two of us, we don't have the time to properly do the customer service for you guys, and it's better for you guys to be going through We Are Best Tech and getting their service, and that's why we do it the way we do it. And we may do some other stuff in the future, but that's pretty much why we do it right now. And I see why they're doing it. Now, it does scare me. And, you know, here's the reason it scares me. It's doing great things for the community. It's bringing these designs down. It's pissing the collectors off, but I really don't care about the collectors. The collectors are their own little cats that live somewhere off to the side in the periphery of the rest of us. And they're still going to buy the one-off customs and stuff like that, and that's their thing. But they are upset that, you know, well, just like a bunch of them got upset over with their dragon scale knife whenever they set out the first bunch, and it was like 300 times, and then they all fought over them, and then 3 or 4 months later they made another run and didn't change the colors or anything, and the collectors went kind of wacky on them. Yep. And but these companies and these makers are using the ODM process to cater to you guys, to guys that are actually buying and enjoying the knives. And I think that's beautiful. The dangerous part is many of them are dealing with the various Chinese companies. And there's nothing dangerous about the companies themselves. Most of them are good, honest people working their tail off to bring you a good product. The danger there is if we end up in some kind of political tussle with Asia, then prices can go up. They can lose their production. It becomes a huge mess, and politics can play a huge part in it. I think that some of these people, instead of relying on production from one area, they should be diversifying a little bit. You know, have some produced here at a little higher price, have some produced in Italy or Spain or Japan, and some produced in and kind of spread things out to where they're not going to get killed if they have some political problem in one spot. But it's kind of deep end of this kind of stuff. We probably don't need to go any deeper than that. So, anyhow, acquisitions that I wanted to talk about while Staz is over there beating on his dog or whatever.
I'm about to.
I'm just joking.
They're playing bang bang with each other, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Two homos.
Yeah. So I was able to pick up one of these.
I saw that. Kind of jealous. Is that the Millie?
It is the Millie. And I have never, I mean, I've had some Millies in the past, but I never took one because they're tip down carry. And it's not that it's tip down carry. It's you got this ramp right there as you stick it in your pocket, right? And my hand always gets into it, and it's just a pain, and it pokes out the wrong way in the pocket, and there's just all kinds of stupid with that pocket clip. And I don't understand why Sal doesn't fix that or change it or give you options or something. However, I got to looking at it and thinking about it, and I'm going to fix that. I'm going to go down to the other end of the knife, and I've got some melt-in ferrules. Drill me a 4mm hole in there and put me a regular Spyderco pocket clip or maybe a Lynch clip or something on the other end of the knife so that I can have my M4 military and all of its 4-inch blade goodness and have it go in the pocket the right direction.
Now, see, I'm different when it comes to 4-inch knives and over, just like my SOCOM. For me, I don't know, the tip down makes sense. The way I'm pulling it out of the pocket, it doesn't look the best.
I'm not going to say it doesn't make sense. The problem with this one, for me, doesn't have anything to do is with the tip up or tip down. It has to do with this ramp right here.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
And then every time I stick my hand in my pocket, and it's every military I've ever had has been that way, stick your hand in the pocket, and it's like, what the heck? Why, Sal? Why?
Let me see that. Let me see that ramp up close. I'm looking at mine right now. Are they the same? Yeah, it's just because yours is turned like this. Okay.
Yeah, it's just the standard Spyderco mean jumping right there. Definitely not off his hand. I love this. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the WG pen, but the best part is written right there in the knife. Right there.
That is a really, yeah. That's one of the best looking militaries I've seen in a while.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, if you are looking at a military, if you don't have proper sharpening equipment, and if you live in Louisiana, don't get the M4 version because it will rust.
Yeah, especially I've noticed with the way Spyderco does their satin finish, it seems to be a little bit more porous. Like my Gale Bradley, it just lived with corrosion on it. And my Mantra oddly hasn't. I don't know if it's a Taiwanese. I don't know if my Gale Bradley was. Yeah, they're both Taiwanese, but I don't know. I don't know what the difference is on those two.
Yeah, I don't know either. And congratulations to Keeper. He got his TRM. I missed it. His Neutron. Cool.
Yeah, great knife. Excellent slicer.
All those PLA knives make really good kitchen knives if you don't have anything super rough to do. They are just beautiful for that kind of stuff. In fact, they should be Shabazz's everyday carry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has one, huh?
Well, I'm sure he has one, but if he was to go by his little rules for knives, the Neutron should be his everyday carry.
Oh yeah,
because his rules don't really give any room for anything else.
That's a fact, Jack.
All right.
What's up?
All right. So what else were we going to talk about, or do you have something you want to talk about?
If anybody has any questions for Zel and I, my dog has questions, but sorry about that, peeps. I can't. My dog's an asshole. And hey, Apollo. So if anybody has any questions for Zel and I, just leave them. Every now and again, I look over and I'm gonna try to keep tabs on the comments. And if not, we'll go into the next little topic. And the next one, I think, is a pretty exciting foray going on here soon. Is Civivi doing a budget model for Elijah that I think it's a sexy knife. I don't know what y'all think, but I correct me if I'm wrong, Zel. That's Civivi's first collaboration with a custom maker, right?
It is, and I had not talked to them about that because we didn't know how pricing was going to go. We will be talking to them about it because I just saw pricing and I can't divulge specific pricing yet. You guys will see it in the next few days. But pricing, I can say this. Pricing on that knife is not significantly different than pricing on any of the other Civivi knives.
That's going to be nice.
So knowing that, because this one, the Isham knife is going to hit that the upper middle tier of the Civivi stuff, the D2 and all the whatever, and I think it's got a titanium clip on it and that kind of stuff. But knowing that, Seth and I would like to take one of our designs, possibly even the Roxy, and simplify it down some and try to hit that $50 or less street price.
I think a lot of our fans watching right now would love to see that because I don't know if it was the last one or not, but there was a few people asking when they'll see a budget Todd knife and tool knife.
Yeah, well, that we're working on that, and I talked about it a little bit last time we did one of these. Which, by the way, we are back. It's been a while. Stassa was on a bit of a vacation.
Yep.
And we're happy to be here. And we talked about it a little bit. We also talked about a Z42 brand coming from Todd Knife and Tool that would start at the lower end of things and then maybe go up if the knife is popular. So
now, a what
about that thing? That
what did you say? A Z42?
Well, the brand would be Z42, and if we decide to go ahead and do that, that brand would start at the under $100 and work its way up if the knife was popular. Where the Todd Knife and Tool stuff, for the most part, is always going to start at the high end and work its way down.
Yeah, gotcha. I think that's exciting.
Yeah, well, it depends on what we can do with the different companies, but that's kind of what we've been talking about.
Very, very exciting. Because I know a few people personally that definitely love the Roxy and the Raptor XL, another one, just like the design influence. Friends of mine, yeah. But I know they won't drop more than $100 on a knife, and that would definitely probably. even your collectors, would buy them. I know I would buy it. You could have one to beat on and one to be a dress carry. Let's see. The wristy is my favorite. Yes, the wristy is nice, Banner.
And thanks, JT, on the malware. I've said it before. We built this thing. Let me swap cameras here. We built this thing because it was stabby and cool looking. Quite honestly, straight up, that's why we built it. And to be small, that was one of the other things, was to have a smaller, lighter knife. And neither one of us really thought that it was going to make a great EDC knife, but Best Tech wanted to make it, so we were like, well, okay. And I actually, whenever I got the prototype, I didn't carry it a whole lot, but whenever the production model here came in, the black one, I have pretty much carried one every day since it showed up. And as Seth can attest, you do have to be careful with them because that is a long, pokey blade. And I think he came close to needing stitches from stabbing a box. But,
yeah, it looks like the ultimate piercer.
Yeah, Seth's right there with the Todd knife and tool handle in the chat.
We're gonna start calling him Stitches.
Yeah, but he didn't get any. He lived through it. And thanks, Better 24/7. The wristy, I have it over here. The updated model is got a little more drop pointy blade than the Warren Cliffy thing, but that is still one that we have out there, and no deals on it yet. But yeah, maybe. Don't know. In fact, you guys have talked about 3D printing a lot more than I have, but we'll talk about it a little more. This is one of the reasons for 3D printing. This is a quartz that is definitely not finished. Obviously, this is all flat parts, and all put together pretty jankily. But the reason it's put together that way is I just wanted to make sure that whenever you put your hands on it, that everything was relatively in the right place and that the stop pin was in the right place. And I like that blade shape.
Yeah, I was about to say, I like it. Got my clip point.
And and also the other thing to printing it out at this stage is now I can see everything in hand instead of inside the inside the CAD program. And I can see even better where I need to make changes. And I've already got a list of changes for this model before I get any further with it. So that's one of the things with 3D printing. It's kind of fun, kind of neat. And
yeah,
we've got Seth showing up, Best Tech fanboy, and My Life on Earth. There's no mofos in here. Well, actually, there's probably a bunch of them if you want to get really technical about it.
How's that native salt been?
Well, I haven't carried it as much as I intended to, but I haven't had any problems with it. And, it's a native.
Yeah.
The only difference is it's LC 200N, and I haven't sharpened it, but it's been, it's Spyderco native. It's been faultless so far.
Now, I did handle that same model at my local shop, and I don't know about yours, but the one they had was ridiculously smooth, like silk.
What is that now?
The native NLC 200N, the one at my local shop. I don't know about yours, but it was so smooth compared to the other net. It was just ridiculous.
Oh, this one's good. And Scotty T has got his malware ordered. That is awesome. We appreciate it. How can you carry those type of Spydercos when you have so many knives with great actions? Okay, Seth may want to weigh in on this. And he may type something up. But here's the thing: whenever you pick up a Spyderco knife, I think it's something like 90% of them have the best ergonomics in the knife world. I don't care who else did it. The FRN and the bushing action. Well, one, bushing actions. Some of my favorite knives. We have an SMF. I've got an SNG over there put away. All bushing. This big, huge Plague Doctor, bushings. This military, bushings. Bushings and stuff aren't as bad as a lot of people make them out when they're done right. Problem is, they got to be done right. Spyderco does a pretty good job. This one's still fairly new and fairly tight, but it won't take long. Well, there you go. And, you know, that's kind of the deal. I mean, what do you think? What do you think about it, Stassa?
For me, of all the knives in my collection, Spyderco is that's what I have the most of by far, hands down. And for me, you know, yeah, the ergos are good, really good, because especially when it's a Sal or Eric Glesser design, it's like they design the knife after they do the handle, and that's how it seems like. And then I like them the most because compared to most companies, their blade stock and their primary grinds are thinner.
Thin, and they're good.
Yeah,
they've done right.
And the full flat grinds too. You know,
your bog standard Spyderco, and this is one. I've got another one over here. Is going to be, for whatever length of blade, it's going to be reasonable material as far as thickness goes, and it's going to be tall, and it's going to have a full flat grind.
Pushing actions, I meant more like the lockback action. Cold Steel has some good actions lately, but my Spydercos, besides my PM2, seems slow and clunky.
I don't really have any Spydercos that are slow. But if they came to me slow, I do a lot of tinkering with my knives, and they usually don't remain slow.
This is a Manix 2 lightweight in S110V. I would say, hard to see on camera there, but that dude is just waggling back and forth. This is a brand new knife. Yeah, okay, sharpening choice. We should talk about that.
Well, let me answer real quick about that, JT. You are correct on there, but at least Spyderco goes all the way back to the plunge to where I can add my own without having to take a Dremel, something else to widen it out. You know, it's basically I take a diamond file and put a little bitty notch. And I don't even have to do that if I don't want. I can sharpen it all the way to the ricasso. And for the most part, I don't have to worry about a smile.
There you go. Now, here's something that I want to talk about with sharpening choils, okay? This is one of my favorite knives. I know there's lots of people don't like Mick, and that's beside the point. It's the design of the knife that I like. Mick can have his whatever. I don't care. If you guys do, you can put it in the comments, and I'll delete it for you. But the thing is, you take this knife and see if I've got a box here. Yes, I've got a box right here.
I know, JT. I'm just kidding. Hey Zel, while you explain this, I got to step out for a sec.
All right, man. So I take this box, I get in there, I'm cutting the box, and look where I end up. Look where I freaking end up every dadgum time. Now, if I go nice and careful about it, sure, I can stay out of the choil. But whenever you got a big old choil in a knife like that, it's a pain. Now, well, I guess we should do that with the Spyderco, eh? So we have military right here, no sharpening choil. Make sure I'm not going to stab myself. Stab it all the way in, and there we go. We're cutting. That is, your sharpeners are going to fuss at you. Your sharpeners are going to have a fit. Why? Because it makes it harder to sharpen the knife. It gives you the little smiles, blah, 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 all the stuff. And whenever I'm sharpening a knife that needs to look good, do I have anything like that up here? I should. Yeah. Have one of Leon Ma's, right? This is like a $500 or $600 knife. It needs to have a good edge termination, sharpening choil, whatever you want to call it. This is actually a finger choil. Doesn't matter, because this is more of a draw knife than it is a go out and beat the heck out of it knife. So there you go. I'll stop my rant for now. And anybody else got something they want to get me all stirred up on? There's something out there. Oh. And yeah, and that right there, Seth's right. That's like we've got what may become the Quark. There won't be a sharpening choil on it. Whenever I put everything in it. It will be ground just like a Spyderco, just like the previous Todd knife and tool knives. Not anything super fancy. Which other designers excite you? There isn't a whole lot that really gets me excited. So as far as that kind of stuff goes.
For what?
Knife designers. I take a very cautious approach. I do like most of what Leon Ma does. However, his current crop 2019, I'm going to be a little cautious on and try to get them, try to look at them at Blade Show and talk to Leon about them before I really get too deep into that, into his newer one.
I have a few maker crushes.
Well, of course you do. And, you know, and there's always Zel and Eric Glesser. And just like Seth said in the comments a little bit ago, whenever it comes to ergonomics and user knives, Spyderco, whenever it has this, I don't know if you guys, yeah, you guys can see that little E. And I don't know if this has got Sal's. I don't think these carry the mark on the military or Sal's mark on there. You're pretty much guaranteed you've got a great knife. And I do watch what Zel and Eric are making because they just nail the ergo so well. And I want to see what they're doing. And I'm probably going to buy it because I want to put it in my hand, feel it, see if I want to not copy their design, but see if I want to take some aspects of what they've done and move it forward into something I'm doing, because holy goodness, they just do such a great job. And anyhow, Stassa, who are yours?
My knife maker crushes? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, hang on. I got to answer this one. Kiefer's asked a couple times. Tactics Armory. Yes, I know about Walter and his knives. Here's my concern about Walter and his knives. Love Walter to death. Think he's a great guy. But this is his first foray into a folder. And while I think the first one is going to be a good knife, I think that I will wait things out and let Walter get his processes down. He's a very meticulous guy.
Oh,
And
very.
once he's had a few revisions, I think he's probably going to be building one of the more solid, not going to be a great looking knife, I don't think, but it's definitely going to be one of the more solid folding knives on the market.
No doubt.
Probably keep the price fairly reasonable.
Yeah.
And yeah, Scott, the S1TNV Mannix Lightweight's great. Okay, we'll get to the Sabenza 21 here in a minute. That's a Stassa question. But anyhow, your knife crushes there, Stassa.
Okay. Of course, Vox. I pretty much love everything he does. Now, my only kind of thing that doesn't set me over the top on a lot of Vox knives, because especially the collaborations, is the 4 and 4.5, 5 millimeter blade stock. Doesn't always do it for me, but I still love the designs. And I think, a Grail maker of mine that I've always loved his designs, but my pocketbook doesn't, and I don't know if it ever will, is Tom Crine. He makes just simplistic designs, and he knows how to grind them thin.
Okay, talking about that, I got to interject here real quick. I know I'm doing a lot of talking tonight. Sorry, guys, that upset you, but yes, the Vones and the other one that, and I can never remember the guy's name. Help me out.
Enzo?
No, I'm not real big on Enzo. Zinker.
Oh, Brad Zinker.
Zinker. I will own a Brad Zinker custom. And
yeah,
the reason that it brought him to mind was Brad makes simple knives in a simple manner that just freaking work.
Yep.
And that to me is a beautiful thing, and his customs are absolutely beautiful, and they're really reasonably priced for customs.
Oh, they're insane. The prices if you shop around for anybody else's, you can pick up, I think you can go as low as a Sabenza for one of his customs. I think he had one for like $450 at Blade. That was a beautiful knife.
Well, yeah, I saw one over on Arizona Custom Knives. It was one of the bigger ones. The what's that model he did with Boker?
That far?
No, the first model he did with Boker. Can't think. I've got a couple of them, but I can't think of the name of it.
Oh yeah, the one that has a clip point, the gentleman's style one.
Yeah, it's got a clip point. In fact, there's several blade styles. But
yeah, and they got a petite of it. Dang it. No, I can't think of it.
But he had a compound grind in not Damasteel, but Vegas.
Yeah, the Urban Trapper, yep.
Calls their stuff. And it was like $525.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. Anyhow. Back to Stassa.
Sorry. Yeah. I mean, Crine, hopefully one day I'll own one of his. I like his Alpha model a lot, and it's it's just a simple. It looks like a nice working man's knife, and just knowing how well he's just like a master at grinding them thin. And I didn't know this, but I read. I always like reading, people's, where they get their stuff from, and I didn't realize that Tom Crine got all of his grinding aspects and things from Bob Dozer.
Oh,
he taught him, the working style knife and how to grind them thin.
And you're right. It is an Urban Trapper. Answer this for Troy real quick. Cuts great. It's like a pancake knife, Troy. And where my Mannix lightweight, and the reason I don't have a regular Mannix, a G10 Mannix, is because it is a big old pocket hog. It's a pancake knife. But where I usually carry this guy is in my back pocket. It locks down pretty securely. I stick it in my back pocket, and that's where I, because Well, like you said, they cut great, and that S110V holds an edge for something forever.
Yeah. And the reason why you don't see any cold steels from me, my I sold my 4 Max to a YouTube buddy, and my American Lawman's not in reach, and I just don't really have a use for the overbuilt knives anymore. But that's being said, I will probably still pick up an 8015 just to play around with the Scorpion lock and just to have that one, overly tank. That and I absolutely love the blade shape on the 8010 because it's basically a smaller 4 Max that I'd always wanted. So that's just why you don't really see many of them. I'm just not a huge backlog fan.
Yeah, and I've got to agree with you. Here's what it comes down to for me. I don't normally do tasks heavy enough to require most of this. One, to require the lock system cold steel, and that lock system to me, since I don't do that sort of task very often, is just an annoyance. Most of the time, the spring pressure is way too heavy, and I know why they do it, and I get it. But whenever I could have one of these Spydercos for the similar money and not have that irritation and have a better grind generally, and a lot of times, like I don't even have a standard Spyderco steel on the table. I've got LC200N, S110V, and CPM M4. So in my
snob.
Yeah, and actually I'm not. That's the six.
I'm just messing with you. Know that.
So that's kind of the thing for me with cold steel. And I look at it as general production, general availability knives when we talk about cold steel, Spyderco, Kai Industries, etc. And accessible. That's the other thing, affordable and accessible. And my preference in that group is generally Spyderco. And something I just, what do we got here? Seth brought up Peter Rosenti. I do love his designs. I do not own one, but I would love to because he has this same build idea that Seth and I do, where he builds a knife to use it, and it is no corners cut. It's built to use, and I love that. And of course, Marfione, Mick, Strider, Medford, and Borkham blades, and Kombu. They make some very interesting stuff, all geared toward use, and that's my biggest thing. Whenever we talk, I love to look at stuff like this, but I don't love to carry it. And I don't know. How do you feel about that, Stassa?
What?
Oh, use knives versus pretty knives. Like we have the pretty knives here in the like the Arrakis.
Oh,
But I get excited about them.
I don't know. I can't. My busker is I guess you could call a pretty knife. I don't know. But I definitely like a knife that I don't feel bad using. That's why you only see one Damasteel knife on the table, and you probably won't ever see another one again. And you don't see any Damascus or anything like that. And even my busker, I was the second owner, and I didn't get it anode like this. So I don't know. I like some. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is a little fancy, but I'm not scared to use it. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, pretty much. And Seth makes a good point. It can be useful and pretty at the same time, but it can't just be pretty or just be useful.
I like what Fred T said. A knife that isn't used doesn't feel. Just jumped in for a second, guys. Sorry, so late. Oh, no problem at all, Neves.
And somebody up there, FHA, Federal Housing Association, is that what that is? Don't know what they are doing here, but we'll answer their question. Do you like the onions design? Yes, I like the onions designs. Not all of them, but his Kershaw Leak is probably one of the most iconic knife designs ever.
And the blur.
And the blur, but the blur is great, but the Leak was owned by so many individuals that will never buy fancy knives.
Yep.
You ask people on, just guys at a job site if they know what a Kershaw Leak is. They're like, yeah. So it's such an iconic design, and I actually love the little thing. I wish Ken and Kai Industries would bring us an updated version of that knife. And the blur is great. The knockout is great. Some of his newer models are getting better. He went through this super, I don't know, something weird design phase where they were all swoopy and recurvy and looked like Akoma knives. And I was like, what the heck's going on, Ken? But he's kind of come back from that and making beautiful stuff again. And the other part is the Onion's just a super nice guy.
Yeah, he definitely is, and he's what would you call him? He's a vet, in the knife game.
Yeah, he's been around. He has so many innovations in the knife industry.
Did he do the field strip technology?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the patent on it, but he was involved in it.
Yeah, I thought so.
In the assisted opening knives. He was partially involved in the ball bearing knives. I mean, he has been involved, and whether he holds a patent on them or not, I don't know, but he has been involved in so many of the innovations in the knife industry. And the 0452 says somebody about favorite EDC knives. The 0452 for sure of your reasonable priced everyday carry will do anything knives. The 0452 is way up there. I'm not a fan of the paramilitary 2, but there are a gazillion people that are. And yeah, there you go. What Stassa's got right there. I'm not a huge fan of those knives, but if you're going to buy a knife that's going to be with you forever and you're going to buy one damn fine knife, you can't go wrong with a Sabenza.
Yeah, it's an heirloom quality knife. It's something you can definitely hand down to your kids, and it will last.
And you might be right, Todd. He's down there in Hawaii. He was maybe a little too close to the natives and feeling a little happy too often. Yeah, you got that right.
What's up, Zach?
Oh, yeah. Who we
Good
got?
seeing you, bud. I'll tell you what. I hope to see somehow, some way, Spyderco use more Rex 45. This is slowly becoming one of my favorite steels thus far. It's excellent stuff. This is one of my sharpest knives I own right now. It's scary sharp.
Okay, here's a question though. And you be honest for the average guy, not for the Stassa, okay?
Yeah.
How hard is it to sharpen?
See, I can't ever answer that question because you know as well as I do, the Wicked Edge doesn't really gauge it. I mean, there hasn't been any steel that's been hard to sharpen. Now, yeah, is it gonna take longer than say M390. Yep.
Okay, well that's the thing, because you can gauge it that way on the Wicked Edge or the KM. Is how long does it take? And here's my opinion on that. I understand, just like this M4, this S110V, maybe not the LC200N. The longer it takes to sharpen, the longer it's going to be between me sharpening it, right?
Not always.
Okay, well,
but yeah, for the most part,
same amount of use, it's going to. But here's the problem for the average guy, and it's even a problem with D2, is if it's hard to sharpen and somebody has to go and do something like a work sharp, or they have to get a freaking Wicked Edge or pay somebody, then a lot of times that takes that knife out of the running for the average guy.
Yep.
And I don't blame them.
Yeah, me neither.
Because, I mean, like I've said before, and Seth will probably back me up here, as we move forward, are there going to be Todd knife and tool knives and M390? Yes. Is that going to be our preferred steel if we get a set whenever we're doing a knife design? Probably not. Most of the time, we're probably going to look at S35VN for two reasons. One is cost, and secondly, the more important reason is the average guy can sharpen S35VN, and it's still a super steel. It still holds an edge for a dadgum good long time. And if I could get the stuff that's in that dang knife that you've got in your hand right now, that's the CTS 40CP, right?
This one?
Yeah.
No, this is the S30.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Before you see, oh, hey, appreciate it, Zach. He just donated to Super Chat. We always forget that's even a thing, but let's just acknowledge Zach is always awesome. He always does it.
Yeah, we really appreciate Zach.
Zach.
All right.
Yeah, 40CP. Yummy.
Yeah, and here's what people don't know about CPM 40CP. It is very simply the powdered metallurgy version of 440C.
Yep.
That's all it is. But it is so good. I don't know why it's so hard to get knives.
Yeah, Strider's one of the only ones I've really seen use it in a production run. I mean, that I can recall. And we know they're going to get the best out of it because they use Peter's heat treat.
Yeah, and I can tell you a little why you can't get 440C and CPM 40CP are, whenever you see stainless bearings that cost a little more than the average one, or they're in a high temp or a high application or whatever, they are CTS 40CP. So the majority of that material is being sold to make bearings.
Okay, that makes sense. So kind of like XHP lately for the what I forgot who they said, they were saying who's buying that up.
I forget, but yeah, same thing. Industry's buying it up.
Yeah, and we're just a little small piece of the pie for those companies. Knife steels.
Yeah, and Seth just Seth is the Todd knife and tool in the chat, guys. That's my brother. And he's kind of laid out the argument there in the chat for S35VN and why we will probably be requesting S35 in future knives whenever we do collaborations. Oh, the bare knuckles.
I tell you, I'm almost ready for my full video on this guy.
Yeah.
And when it started out, I don't know if you remember, but I had one with the abnormally strong D10 in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I was able to return it and get one with a good detent. And I mean, it's still got a stiff detent, but it's not to where I'm slipping off every other fire. This thing has gotten ridiculously smooth. I mean, look at that. Ooh, I mean, little shakes down. It's a pretty good performer. I mean, that 14C gets stupid sharp. Oh man, it's sticky. And I think for the money, if you're looking for a USA made, nice full size EDC, lightweight, thin, and ergonomic, I don't think this is a bad option.
Yeah, you're right. And most of them do come stiff, Scott. Mine is a bit stiff, not as stiff as Stazzle's was. And what I'm looking forward to is run number 2 of those things whenever they bring us some S35 or whatever.
Yeah.
Knives. I'll be watching. What's that little place in Texas, House of Blades? They usually get the S35 models.
And the M390. They had both M390 and S35.
Yeah, I'll be watching them because that and some other colors and S35 is going to be a killer deal at around $100.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you, this right here was one of my biggest disappointments in Kershaw in a while.
Oh,
this guy, like, I was hoping some of the issues I had with this early on would iron itself out, but no, it got worse. The D10 on this guy is I've even tuned the D10 on this guy, and it's still hard to flip.
Well, I'll tell you what, one that isn't terribly hard to flip. We'll have to pull off some kind of trade arrangement and get one down to you.
I mean, I got it to where it's usable, and it's just not what it should have been.
Well, I agree. I absolutely agree. It should have been fabulous. Excuse me, didn't it? Wow.
I think the community could have had a part in why this didn't turn out to be as quality as it should have been. I think the impatience of a lot of people got them to rush it.
Well, now that's on Kai Industries in Kershaw, because they're still doing that old school. We release everything at SHOT Show. We take orders from all the dealers, estimated orders, and then we get them produced according to how many orders we got for whatever, and we see what happens. And it's not a dumb do thing, because that gives them a lot more leverage whenever they're dealing with their ODMs. But if you notice, not even Spyderco does that anymore. Everyone is going to the whenever we announce it, we're going to have it released within a few weeks, or at least I think they're saying 90 days for most companies anymore.
Yeah. Scott, I haven't handled the Archbishop, but I did do a video on what was the first one, Zel, from Ferrum Forge in their pro line, the Fortis.
Fortis, right? Yeah.
And that was a really nice knife. The design just really didn't do it for me, but the ergos, Ferrum Forge does two things really, really well, in my opinion, from what I've handled so far, is their ergos and their flipper tabs are just perfection, in my opinion. The way they set it up, because they set up that flipper tab to where it's canted back to where you can put a stiff D10 on it and it's going to rock it out without any ill will to your finger.
Yeah, that's they did a good job. And they've got a good production partner, but there again, that's what we were talking about in the very beginning whenever we started this. They're only partnering with one production partner. And that worries me for a lot of these companies that are a little bigger than, some guy that's running a knife. And has the money to buy them and then resell them under his own brand. Whenever you're talking about Fair and Forge and they've got a shop and all the stuff they got out there, it kind of makes me worried that they're only dealing with one ODM.
Yeah. Oh, and Scott Brian's got one, and he says awesome. Brian, great taste in knives, and he's got some beautiful knives. So if he says it's awesome, take his word on it. Brian, can you tell us? We can't see how many people are in the chat right now. Just curious because I got a stupid banner over my thing that I can't get off.
Okay. Seth, are you still in the control or in the chat?
You were in the control room, huh?
Well,
plant worker.
Well, I'm looking at the control room thing over here for the the whole deal.
Thanks, Banner.
Yeah, it says live control room.
Banner said, "Oh wait, okay." Banner said 13, and Scott said 29. So we're in between 13 and 29. Somewhere.
I'm going to send.
Yes, and I'm actually in the control room.
Okay, I'm going to send Seth a link to get in here, and he's got some of our prototypes printing down there, so that should be cool to see if they're still printing. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. And
thanks, fellas.
Appreciate it. And I guess I don't know if I can do this or not.
What?
Well, I have a live stream on the web of what my printer is doing right now, but it's definitely not a knife. So I did back up, and I'm not printing knife or anything to do with Todd Knife and Tool or any of that right now. I'm actually printing Skeletor.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm printing Skeletor.
That's awesome.
Why? Because I kept seeing that model, and I'm like, man, I want a Skeletor. So,
hey, check this out, Zel. I don't know. You remember this tool I had?
Yeah.
All it was missing is a pocket clip, and look what I did. I hooked it up with a tie pocket clip.
There you go. The tie is pretty, but on that, I'm going to be straight honest with you. I would rather have the pocket clip that's on the other one.
Oh, I mean, that was the only one that worked.
Oh, okay.
I was going through all my old, my parts bins to knives that didn't make it, and
right.
At first I had a nice deep carry clip that was promising, but it just this one, being that it has that thick lip right there, because it has that's the size hole. I had to take an old ZT pivot, and I had to grind it down about an eighth of an inch off of it, and shape that to where it fit into that slot because of the hexagon. And then I had to put a washer behind that to let it sit on top. So that was the only one that worked. It works great now, and that's all this one was missing. I absolutely love this guy. I'm kind of doing. I'm gonna review these together because they both have some great things about them and some things I don't like about them. So what do y'all think about carrying something like that on you? And I'm just going to tell you why I decided to, because a lot of times I was using my knives for things that I definitely shouldn't have been using them for, and it's kind of stupid breaking tips off of knives when I could carry something like that and pry with. Yes, Zach, it's the all access. I think Zach, don't you have the longer you have the longer one as well, right? Because that's one I definitely I always miss that one whenever he would pull them whenever he would put them out.
There we go.
Is that Skeletor?
That is Skeletor being made.
Swap the screen so they can see that, or do you want them?
I did.
It's not. Oh, there it goes. Okay, it just popped up.
Now that is Skeletor becoming a little bust.
Hey, I don't really drink at all. My life on Earth, it's not really for me. I use the pry part basically, unless a friend of mine wants me to open a beer for him.
Seth, I sent you a. There it is.
Yep.
All right, let me get my screen share work on. And there is. There. All right, Seth, you're up.
Hey, I'm going to use the bathroom real quick, fellas.
All right.
So is it my screen that's on there?
Yeah, your screen's up. You need to turn it around. No, you're good. You're good.
All right. So first, I guess if you guys want to see the indoor shop, we'll go. So there's the Anycubic i3 or Mega S, and that is printing that.
Cool.
That I gotta get way back because it's huge.
No, we're good.
It's 3D, and it is printing the InfoSec 3.5. You can see on the screen.
I see why it didn't print your blade. I can tell you why later.
Because it's not on the plate. I see it now.
Yeah.
Which is probably going to be disastrous here in about 3 hours.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. It may be.
But that knife is a 3.5 inch or a bigger version of this knife.
Right.
And we're printing the prototype so we can see how it feels from an ergo standpoint before I spend 50 hours of the labor making one that looks like this.
Yeah, that's the idea of the 3D printing is to.
And then, so the rest of the shop area, you got your anodizing stuff, airbrushing stuff for Cerakote over there, if you can see it. You got lots of tool storage. And then you got the laser.
Yeah.
Which I don't have going. And then as far as knives go, that's the laser razor. This is an interesting thing here. So that is the Roxy 3.
Yep. Essentially a 3-inch Roxy, and show the opening mechanism on that one.
So you've got your standard that way, but then you've also got this roll. See how that's set up? So you can roll it out with your thumb. And we're calling that the roller lock, although I think there is actual lock mechanism called the roller lock, but now we'll call this the roller lock. And that's in, you guys are talking about tool steel or steels, that's an A2 tool steel, which is not something you normally see on a folding knife.
Wow.
This one is at about 60 Rockwell or 61, and it is razor sharp.
I don't know. I just came in, and that thing is sick. Seth, did y'all laser engrave that? The handles.
The handle is several different layers of laser engraving on finishing, and the backspacer and the pocket clip are flame oil titanium anodized, and then the other titanium hardware is regular electro anodized. And then the blade, because this is a tool steel, right? So it's not a stainless steel.
That Hamon
is actually etched in there.
Oh, that's an etch. Okay. I tell you what, it almost looks like a Hamon.
Well, that was the intent, was to make it look like Hamon, but it's fully heat treated. However, we are going to try not doing a Hamon on it, but basically with A2 tool steel specifically. And these are more for show. Well, I will say you're going to get amazing cutting performance out of A2. You really don't want it on a folding knife because it will rust pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to do one. I'm going to put furnished cement on here, but instead of putting it on the top, I'm going to put it on the bottom post heat treat and then heat anodize the top of the A2 tool steel across the spine.
And yeah, I've already done that. I haven't done it with A2. I've done it with 01, and it will come out freaking awesome.
So will give it kind of like that Medford Vulcan finish, or
it'll look like the Medford Vulcan finish, except for you'll have all kinds of colors, all the way from orange, yellow, blue, black, browns.
Yeah, just like if you were flaming a piece of stainless, correct?
Well, not stainless, but like if you took a piece of mild steel and you flamed it like a tabletop, it'd look like that.
Yeah.
And then, this is going to be the new thing, obviously, for most knives that are trying to get out is these are washer knives. They're not flippers, but they have this roller lock mechanism. And then you can obviously just use normal. And that's a knife that opens like that on washers, which is significantly harder to do than bearings.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then if you look at the root kit, now I don't have the newer version of the root kit in here, the one that has the roller lock mechanism, but the root kit is this knife. It should be out with we, at least to show prototypes by June, July frame. And it will have a roller lock. This one doesn't, but it will have a roller lock on it as well.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. You don't see a lot of roller locks. I like that.
One of the few.
What's that?
The Buster you have is one of the few. And that's
actually... It's not... I mean, it's a front flipper too, though.
And these, you could design the roller lock out as a front flipper. You'd have to just put bearings in it, and then it's stronger detent.
Yeah, detent.
For these, the preference is a more solid knife that has a more solid action that is going to be on phosphor bronze. And then if, then maybe there'll be a bearing version that's a front flipper. Because if the front flipper, you can tone down that curve, that lump a little bit because you don't need as much leverage.
Now, if anybody wants to have a good idea what the roller lock is like, if you have a Boker Excalibur 1, that is basically a roller lock. It's on washers, Teflon actually, and it's a front flipper, but you can roll it as well.
Same thing with this one. This is a InfoSec that we did. And it's same scenario.
So many other people making blades with. Noah, real quick, let me answer them. Yeah, it's definitely worth the money. It's not. You're paying for the tolerances and the QC, the warranty, and his S35VN is dialed in. So yeah, I think it's worth it. That's in my opinion. What do y'all think about that, fellas?
I agree with everything except for his S35 VN's dialed in.
Well, he changed here recently. He upped his HRC. It's now 59 to 60.
Point, that's good. Yeah, that right there is the Roxy 4. You guys have seen that a lot.
Yeah, now this one should be out at Blade Show. Should be available. And hopefully at Blade Show there will be another one called the Showdan that's available, but we're still working through that.
What was the one you had, Seth, right before that one? The little
The
guy.
Medford?
No. Your design. It
Oh,
was the
this one?
Oh,
yes.
Avon.
Yes.
I love this knife. I carry this knife all the time. I keep saying I'm going to send it to you to review, Stassa, but I carry it all the time. You can see the blades all jacked up.
You can when you send that one, you can send my other knife to me, my Tanto that you refused to make.
I'll 3D print you one.
Yes.
No, this one is just, it turns out it's just a great user knife. And I can be honest, the reason why this is not going to production is just some politics, but it's basically, we didn't choose to make it, and Terrell may have talked about this before, but the problem that companies like we or say Best Tech have with making a knife this size, less so Best Tech and more so we, is that if they do this as a collab and they make it this size, they're still going to have to charge like $200 and some odd for the knife.
Mm-hmm.
And people think because it's smaller, it should cost less money. So they didn't want to do this one along with the Roxy. And Best Tech took this all the way to getting it ready for production and then decided it looked too much like the Roxy and didn't want to make it.
Yeah. That sucks. Just find a different company.
Yeah. Eventually, it's good enough use knife. Like if I need anything where I'm just going to tear junk up or, stuff that I don't want to worry about the knife. Like I flip this thing out and it's just very easy to handle. Good. Get it.
Yeah.
In comparison, like.
Okay, so they're about the same. They're the same size, not lengthwise.
Strangely, the Halon actually has a longer blade than the Roxy. It's just a lot less tall.
I gotcha. Yeah, it looks very. It looks like it'd be very good in the hand, especially for like those detailed carving and X-Acto type stuff.
Yeah. Now, what do you guys think about the laser work?
Oh, I think that looks awesome. You got a laser engraver?
The big, huge metal box that I showed you earlier. Oh, you were gone, weren't you, Staz?
Yeah.
Yeah, you missed the. Here, we'll go through the indoor shop tour again for you, Staz. So there's the Mega S.
Oh, cool. That's like the Benchmade one, huh?
There's the Raise 3D. And that's printing an InfoSec.
Sick.
And then there's the laser.
And the laser razor.
Yeah, that's the laser razor.
Awesome.
Laptop.
When did y'all get the laser? I think Terrell told me about it. My memory sucks.
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you what. One cool thing I think about the laser is the crazy anode jobs you can do with the laser after the pulling colors off, like kind of like who is it? Not is it Blaze We Love that does like the looks like Timascus and stuff? They call it Flowmascus or whatever.
Yeah, that's pain. One of the points of pain with the laser we've got right now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, the sky's the limit. You can put anything on it.
Yeah, it's not as easy. It's a lot of work. Like this knife could never be in production like that, because that was probably, I'm going to say that's 15 hours of laser work.
Oh, shit. Is it because it's layered or?
Yeah, the way this was done was these side pieces up here, the darker parts, they were lasered once, and then they were lasered again, and then these parts were polished and then lasered, and then finished and then lasered again, and then the tops, obviously, and the bottom were lasered. And it's not, I know they show all those videos on YouTube where they're like, it's super quick. Well, if you're making a mark, it is super quick. But if you had this in your hands, you could feel this is actually depth engraved into the titanium.
Oh, I mean, you don't even have to tell me that. I can look at that. And I mean, if anybody's ever been to Blade Show and you go get your name engraved in a knife at the Benchmade booth, that takes, a little while. I can only imagine how long that took. And I can see the depth to it.
And yeah, Nick Kaz, that laser engraved knife is the Roxy 3-inch Roxy.
And we need to know what you guys think about the Roxy 3, because that's probably the one that we will be pushing most at Blade Show to get made.
And we've got some, we're not going to talk about it yet, but we got some really, if we do get to a point of production on that one, we've got really cool stuff that's going to go around that knife.
What's up, Peter?
Yeah, what's going on, Pete?
Just I'll laser your name.
He's not joking.
What are you going to laser it on?
Business card.
I'm throwing a knife in the mail.
What kind of? Well, that was actually the question I had whenever I was asking about the laser engraving. We've got some Roxys, and we could get some Malwares if we had some and we lasered them up, kind of like that one is. Would people be interested?
I think. I mean, I would just do a test one and put it on Instagram. Now I don't know how you price something like that, but I mean, or you can auction it. That's what I do. Start it at where the lowest you could go on it, and that way you could see the demand for it.
Yeah, I've got some questions to answer here, guys. It is not exactly a faux hamon. It's more, not a real hamon, but it's not fake either. It was etched in there. And yes, Nick has the Roxy 3 is scheduled to be on washers at this point. Now, that depends on our manufacturing partners. It could end up not being that way, but our plan is washers.
Let's see.
And there's Deadpool hanging out over there.
Oh, yeah. Deadpool.
I went to print Deadpool, and I just couldn't do it. That's why I'm printing Skeletor.
I got a Deadpool shirt on right now.
Well, the reason why I keep printing Deadpool, and you know this, is because it's a good test of a no support, very detailed print that doesn't take 2 days.
Damn, that is an excellent image of that. That's amazing.
That is done on, what were we calling that little printer?
This was the Raise 3D.
Okay, that's the Raise. Where's the one off the Crackhead?
This one was on a $230 printer.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Is that the little cube or whatever?
Yeah. And
that's the one I was talking about, Zel. How's the quality of the cube? I saw that on Instagram.
It's been good so far. I've got one that'll be here next week. I'll be trying some different materials on it. All stuff I think is done so far is PLA, which is kind of a base material.
Yeah.
And if some of the stuff I'm printing good, then it seems to be a pretty good one so far, and I think it's going to be. I got that coming, and then I have a massive version of that one, 15 by 15 by 15 build volume. Nice.
I actually saw the other night on Shark Tank a guy that basically has that cube printer, 3D printer, and he's got it set. His pitch was like setting it up with software already, like make it easy for a kid to print just about like the sky's the limit with their software that they got set up.
Yeah, there we go, Stassa. Yeah, there we go. Stassa is headed that way. And we got some questions to answer here. Washers work well from Blade Banter. Washers like Chris Reed. Okay, so here's the deal. If the knife is square, all the surfaces are parallel and all that good stuff, you know what I mean. There, Dave. Chris Reed washers are not necessary. Are they cool? Sure, they're cool, but they also add extra expense in the manufacturer. If you ever watch the Chris Reed factory tour, he'll show you how he does those washers. And it's not a simple process. Well, it is a simple process, but it's not as simple as it looks, I guess I should say. And there's the laser going. That's pretty cool.
You would be just as good off with just that size, a bigger washer, because you just have more surface area. You don't really need the perforations in there.
Right.
Let's see. Sorry for so many questions. Is Rick, the model you have? Well, love your design, Scott. You saw Nick's other questions, though?
Yeah. All right. I agree, Dave, that it does help with a little bit with the retention of the grease. However, the thing you've got to look at is on our end, and there is Stassa on the business card.
That's what I'm talking about. Yep, I need that. And then I'm gonna send you my logo. You can put it underneath there for me, and that can be my my YouTube start page thingamabob. What font is that? I like that.
I forget what it's called, but I think it is from the Marines from Alien.
Oh, okay. It almost looks like something from Area 51.
Yeah, I think it was based off of the Colonial Marines from the Alien movies. I think that was their font in the original movie, but it fit the malware pretty good, so I've been using it for the malware.
That is really cool looking. I'm going to have to send you one of my knives for you to put that on like that.
And what I was saying, Dave, is the knife being square is more important than holding some crazy grease. And, if the knife is square, you're using phosphor-brine and you're using a reasonable oil, so whatever grease is not. Well, Seth, pick up that Roxy 3 and show Dave the action on that on just big old round phosphor bronze washers, and that is your desk.
Yeah, sorry, I had to. Now, what do you want me to show?
Thanks, Nick.
How smooth that thing is just on big washers.
That's on phosphor bronze. I've got this. I think this is the one. This is on phosphor bronze washers.
We have, in our shop, we have been able to attain super smooth on standard phosphor bronze washers. And
It's
hoping our production partners can achieve that as well.
yeah, it's. I know there's this myth out there that bearings is way harder to do because there's more machining steps. But basically, what bearings does is it gives you slop in the knife, so that if the knife is not perfectly square, you can use the pivot to adjust the centering of the knife and take the slop out of the bearings. Whereas if you're on phosphor bronze washers and the knife is not perfectly square, if the mechanism is tight, meaning that the knife has no play in it, then you can't take any slop out because everything is touching,
Yep.
right? So it is much, much harder to produce a knife that is on phosphor bronze washers that has a smooth action and it's centered than it is to do one that's on bearings, like something like this, because you got way more room for play to screw this up. And what a lot of people don't know is that titanium has a tendency to warp very badly during machining and during just really kind of any, like to give you an idea, this one's centered up because I fixed it afterward. Just that much laser work on this slightly decentered the blade because it warped the titanium.
Yeah, and titanium will even relax after like a lock bar that has been bent and then packed it up and shipped it. And then you receive the knife and you're all mad because it doesn't lock up as well as you want it to.
Yeah.
Or whatever. That's the titanium over its travel to you has relaxed. It was probably perfect at the factory.
Yeah. And not that I agree with his policies, right? But those are a lot of the big reasons why Medford has the policies that he has about not taking them apart and everything. Because if you've got a knife that's perfectly centered, that's on phosphor bronze washers, that's got titanium handles, that's got a straight titanium lockup, which I actually prefer is a straight titanium lockup without an insert because you have a better lock experience. But if you take that apart, your chances of getting it back together without having to adjust that knife and have it recentered are actually pretty low. And that's not a matter of, the knives are made crappy. It's a matter of it is under extremely tight tolerances in comparison to a lot of these other companies that are making these knives. And if you screw it up, the average person is not going to be able to fix it. Because I can tell you, this knife, pretty much dead center. Would you guys agree?
Yep.
What do you think the last step was to get that knife dead centered?
Probably involved the hammer.
It didn't.
Bending the scales.
Yeah. It took taking a rubber mallet and a vise and a torch, and basically after all the machining was done, taking that thing and sticking it in the vise with a backspacer on it, and at a specific point rebending it was perfectly centered.
What's up, Jet Fuel?
Jet Fuel's with us.
Yes, sir. He just joined us.
Like this one, pretty much dead center. And Terrell can tell you with this knife, I had a hell of a time getting it centered up because this was the first phosphor bronze washer knife I made. And it was actually Greg who spent, and this is why I like the guy, even though a lot of you guys don't probably. He spent, Terrell, what, probably 2 hours going through machining technique at Blade Show, which I ultimately came back and used on this knife and fixed it.
Yeah, Blade Show in Portland, Greg Medford stood and talked to me about knives in the knife industry, and he was designed for an hour and a half. Whenever he was browsing with customers coming, and then later on that same day, ended up talking to Seth for an hour and a half about machining techniques. That is one reason. What did he say? Greg Bedford's a great guy.
Yeah, and he's very, very passionate about knives.
And that is some type of one of our.
I can't.
I get that. We don't know all the ideas yet.
I can't hear what you. Seth, is it coming? Is he coming through clearly, or is it's probably just my headset?
No, he isn't. He's breaking up.
Yeah, I couldn't hear what you were saying.
And Seth right there has our scalpel model, and scalpel,
Nice.
we've got the ideas for that. We're not going to go of all the ideas yet. But, go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, the idea with this is just a proof concept here, but it won't be like this because obviously we'd want to give it a little bit more function than this, like having a pry bar end or whatever. But one of the interesting things since we got into 3D printing is Terrell mentioned I designed one of these out and it had a prototype. It had a titanium clip that was around the end of this. You can flip it off with your thumb instead of having to have a sheath or like a lanyard or with like a thing to put on your belt. You could just stick it in your pocket. To machine it together out of titanium, it was pretty big. Like it was thick and it made it less cool. But the idea is we can take carbon fiber infused PETG filament and actually 3D print a cap to go on the end of this in carbon fiber. And then you can have it with the lanyard hole in the back, just throw it in your pocket. And then if you want to use it, you just pop that cap off. And we may have a little string on it that clips to here so that it dangles.
Yeah,
and then
that'd be cool.
probably put a pry bar on this end and maybe a bottle opener.
I think that'd be neat.
Yeah, and Thomas, we know that the audio is getting a little wonky. It always happens in video. It's just part of the game.
Yeah. Y'all gotta understand we got three mics, so I mean anytime you gotta several mics, it's just part of it. It's getting better.
Yeah, and I'm gonna wait. We're gonna have 3 or more people on here. I'm gonna have to start running this through the big computer. I'm running it through an old i7 4770X or 4770K. And, get more people in here. I'm gonna have to run it through the Threadripper.
Yeah. And what do you print right there, Zeth?
This is the larger version of the InfoSec.
Man, that's really cool.
So eventually, hopefully, there will be a blade and a back spacer over there. But we're thinking that I might have fucked that up, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because they may try to print that in air.
Yeah. Well, I'm not so sure that's actually because if you notice, it shows all of those parts. They look like they're in the air except for the first one, but that's not the case. The blade is supposed to be in the air because it's on support.
But on that much support?
No, not that much support, but hey, I don't know.
David, we're using Google Hangouts. And thanks, Jet Fuel. That's usually not the case. Usually mine's crap, but I got lucky tonight and I don't have anybody streaming over here for once in my life.
Yeah, mine's probably a bit choppy because I've got everything running through my box going up to YouTube. And then
you know what else it probably is, Seth? You don't have a headset, huh?
I don't know.
That's probably what it is. Because if I try to do mine without my headphones, mine goes crazy.
Well, I can get a set. I got some of those fancy Galaxy Buds. Will those work?
Yeah. Yeah, and you need to find out if you can use just the left ear on those for me.
Well, I'll check that out right now. I don't know how close they got to be to the phone.
I don't know. Let's see here. We'll move one of the other desks while you're at it. And here's something I wanted to kind of for everybody to see. This is the ProTech Magic 2, and it is kind of freaking cool and kind of ridiculous too. But this is one that ProTech just released not long ago. It's a Whiskers designed automatic. I'm not a big side-loading automatic guy, but if you watch my video when it comes out, there's one very, very important feature of this knife that if you do have side-loading or side-firing automatics, you may want to consider one. I won't reveal what that issue is or that coolness is right now, but we will get there. How it fires is right here. Push down on the scale, fires out. Let you get a look at it there.
Did you watch? Did you watch David when he got that?
No, I missed that one.
Oh, I gotta pick on you, David. You gotta go watch it. But hey, he wasn't feeling good that day, so I give him a pass. I'm just busting your balls, David.
Yeah, but this thing is going to be pretty cool. It's a bit expensive, but for the one thing that I came up with that I'll put in the video on it, it may be worth every cent. That'll be up to you, and we'll get to that. Another thing, we're talking about the 3D printing. These haven't been sanded. I just put them on there to test fit them, but that is carbon fiber filament gent scales. I've got some silver ones around here somewhere. I had them earlier.
Zel, put it closer to the camera. I want to see what it looks like in detail, because that
got to keep it under the light.
Is that a sunburst pattern or something on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I need to sand these a little bit. But I
tell you, the ones in your left hand, those came out excellent.
Yeah, these are the silver ones. And I have some Starry Night is what it's called, Pet G ones that are just freaking beautiful. They just goofed up on one end. That end just went to hell. So the other side come out great.
Ooh, I like the blue. Is that another carbon fiber filament?
No, this is a PETG, PETG filament. It's just a high temperature filament, high temperature plastic. And
gotcha.
Around this, I'm going to fix that, and I'll get some printed in that. And people have asked about these going up as STL files and stuff, and maybe even selling a few of them. If I can get them all to print good in PETG, yes, I will. If people want them, I'll sell a few, and I will get the STLs out there. I just haven't decided how or where yet. If you guys have good ideas, let me know, because I want to do it right and get them out there for everybody, but I also don't want to do it where I'm going to have problems. So if people have experience, please let me know on the 3D printed, sharing the STL files. But anyhow, Seth, you still there?
Yeah, but it wouldn't let me, won't let me change to the Bluetooth while we're in the call.
Hey, James, yeah, I don't know. Just I see you say you subbed to Banner. You also got my buddy Jet Fuel EDC. Check him out. My buddy Zach's on here tonight, and check him out. And my good buddy JT. If you're not already subbed to him, let's get him over his milestone. I think it's what 4K or 5K. He's getting close to. Always like to help our community out any way we can.
Hey, I'm about 30 away from 2K.
All right, there you go. We have a Todd Knife and Tool Instagram as well, and it'd be great if you subbed over there. You can keep track of stuff like what you're seeing right there, and go on up here at my shop too.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we all have. I'm sure all of us have IGs. Yes, the Todd Knife and Tool page is definitely one y'all want to. If y'all interested in these designs, that's an excellent place to see them firsthand, quick.
Yeah, we try to share everything fairly early in the buying process, and like that.
So anybody in the chat want one of these that's lasered up like this?
Hey guys, I'm stepping out for a sec.
All right. Yeah, give it a minute, Steph. But we can do that kind of stuff. We have some Roxy's on hand that we can do that kind of stuff too.
Yep, I've got a box of Roxy's over here. I think it's in here.
The box of Roxy's.
Not very many, but enough.
Yep. And guys, it is getting close to 1 a.m. Central Time, so yeah, I need to get down.
I'm gonna go ahead and drop out of here, Troy.
All right, man. I need to get down there and see that raise.
Yeah, it is a pretty cool thing, although it ought to be, right?
and yeah, we'll do something about making a box or something cool whenever that other one works out well.
Yeah. Yep. I think it should be pretty cool, although I'm still very intrigued by the Flash Forge Guider 2S as an enclosed right out of the box deal.
Yeah, but as an unenclosed, I went to see before I opened that thing, and I watched a whole bunch of video, and actually their auto leveling that isn't auto leveling makes sense. Don't call it auto.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the reason why I like that Flash Forge is because it's auto, but you can just turn it off and go manual if that shit doesn't work.
Hey, Seth. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Hey, can you see you can see my picture right there, huh?
Yep.
How hard would it be to do, say, this frag pattern on my small Sabenza 21?
You got to get it in focus. It shouldn't be. You want the Swiss Army knife?
No. Just a frag.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, I think the only thing you got to be willing to risk is you want it engraved that deep, right?
No, I mean it does. I mean, it doesn't have to be that deep. Just where you can see it. I mean,
my only concern with engraving it that deep is it's going to put a lot of heat into that titanium, and it might be deformed a little bit.
Well, you don't think, or more so, and so you wouldn't have to do it something deep, like say for instance, like this knife right here, that's got an ano on it with just a light pass over it, just so you can see it, over the ano.
Yeah, we can try it. You do whatever you want.
Yeah, I might.
You're not that far away,
I know.
Could just get in the Raptor and go.
Yeah, I know. How far are you from me? 4 or 5 hours?
We checked once. I think it's about 4, somewhere between 4 and 5.
I'll be down there sometime next week.
Yeah, pretty soon. Maybe 1 week, whenever Terrell goes down there. Maybe I'll do the same.
Yeah, and if you're coming over from where you're coming over, you wouldn't go protect our camp, would you?
Wait, say again? I can't hear anybody.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, let's wrap this up. We really appreciate everybody hanging out with us and talking knives and looking at the always fun. I appreciate Seth. Appreciate you coming in and showing us more toys.
Yes. Yeah, and I just like to say thanks again to Zach for hitting us up in the super chat It's always such a help for when we do any little things for the channels. And it's great seeing all our fellow YouTubers in the chat as well, and our normal people as well too. Hope everybody has an excellent night, and we'll probably see y'all soon.
Have a good one, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Hopefully sooner this time.